Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum, built for business by American Express.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live full service.
So good, so good, so good.
Get ready, because Clear the Rack is on at your Nordstrom Rack store. Now through Monday, find incredible deals on Wear Now styles. On sale for even less at Nordstrom Rack. Take an extra 25% off red tag clearance throughout the store from brands like Adidas, Marc Jacobs, Steve Madden, and more. All sales final. The best stuff goes fast. So shop this sale at Nordstrom Rack today. Please see NordstromRack.com or ask a store associate for details.
Whether it's a movie night or just midday, Skinny Pop is a salty snack that keeps on giving. Made with just 3 simple ingredients for an irresistibly delicious taste and a large serving size that lasts. Deliciously popped, perfectly salted. Skinny Pop, popular for a reason. Shop Skinny Pop now.
Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Sunday evening by Zencaster, just an hour or so after the Islanders lost to the Carolina Hurricanes, is my friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, the Islanders went from 1 point out of the playoffs to 3 points out of the playoffs. Their games in hand advantage, as much as it was, is gone, and things are looking pretty bleak. They have a lot of tougher games coming up on the schedule this week. And whatever positivity we may have had last week has all but evaporated. At least that's for me. Is it the same for you, or are you still holding out any sort of hope that this team has anything in it left to possibly finish above the playoff cutoff line?
Yeah, it's two different things, right? Positivity and hope, I would say. Positivity, no, that has gone the way of the Marcus Hogberg hype train. You know, they're both.
Yeah, that blew up this afternoon.
Exactly. Yeah, hope, sure, whatever. It's they're. I had a feeling that they had at least one more losing streak in them before the end of the season. They got nine games left. Is that where we're at, right? And
I think so. Yeah.
Whatever, it's 9 or 8. And last year, I think they went 8-1-1 down the stretch to make the playoffs. Obviously, the teams around them aren't inspiring much confidence either. Although one team we will talk about is a little scary. But so yeah, I'll hold on to that hope just because hell, we're at the end of the season anyways. Just might as well stay on this stupid ride as long as they'll have us. That said, that was a I don't know how much you watch boxing.
Not at all.
But, you'll every once in a while you'll watch a fight and you'll the two combatants there's just one who's just clearly just just a punching bag that night and getting pummeled, and the corner comes under some heat for sending the fighter back out round after round and not throwing in the towel. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like we're too big of losers. We're too in it to realize that our corner is letting us down and sending us out after the bell to fight each upcoming round. And we walk into the center of the ring and there's, I don't know, Tyson Fury or Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson or whatever boxer you want to throw in there. And we're in there. They beat the crap out of us for a round. Then we go back to the corner. We look at our corner man and they're patching us up, like, sewing up that blown third period lead above our eye and icing down the terrible power play under, above our eye and giving us a pep talk that we're still in it. We're resilient. We did it last year. We did it last fight. So everybody believes in this room, the character in this room. And then they send us back out to the center of the ring and they know not to expect a different result. We probably in the back of our head know not to expect a different result, but on those few steps towards the center of the ring, you're like, maybe I can pull this off. And maybe those last 8 rounds, 9 rounds, 10 rounds were just the other guy got lucky with the licking he put on me. Yeah. And then wouldn't you know, they just beat the crap out of you again, send you back into the corner. They don't knock you out because you got that chin. You are resilient. They'll give you that. You got hell of a beard, and you walk back to the corner, and you're looking at the people who are supposed to be like responsible for you and tell you, hey, don't watch that next Islander game. It's over. But they say, get out there and try again. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like, and here's the worst part of this whole thing. We are both the fighter and the people in the corner, right? That's the worst part of this whole thing. You go out there as a fighter, you turn on the broadcast, you watch the Islanders screw up, ruin your mood, ruin your night, ruin your weekend. And then you get on your walk back to the corner, your corner man, which is the other part of your Islander brain, starts telling you it's going to be okay. They're going to beat the Lightning on Tuesday because that game on Saturday, they almost came back. Yeah. So get back out there. So yeah, that's the worst part of this whole thing is you are both the punching bag and the person who's supposed to watch out for you and have your best interests at heart. So, yeah, that's how I feel right
now. Yeah. It's funny. That analogy makes total sense and is great, but I'm kind of almost surprised you didn't go with your usual go-to war analogy because it feels like a little bit like that too. Like, get on out there, soldier. It's like, yeah, well, they just blew up, another couple of our tanks. So you just get back out there again. Yeah. Like, but it's not going really well out there.
General, yeah, you're both the general and the foot soldier there too.
Right.
You got the little stick that they point to on the map, and they're saying, "Look, just got to beat the Lightning and then beat the Wild, and we'll be okay." Yeah. Oh yeah, we always beat those teams, right? Just get out there. Exactly. Don't ask too many questions, soldier.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Let's just get out there. So yeah, it's feeling a little bit like that, and it felt a little bit like that after today's game too, and. Again, a sort of an offshoot of that is I know why the team and the broadcasters and the various media members and whatnot are trying to keep alive this idea that like, well, they're right there, like they can make the playoffs. They're right there. Shannon Hogan went on a whole thing at the end of the game about how like, we've counted them out every year, and last year they made the playoffs and everything. And it's like, yeah, that's true. And obviously like the team broadcasters aren't going to be like, well, throw up your hands, send up the white flag. This is over. But on the other hand, It's hard to watch. It's very hard to watch. It's very hard to like watch them go up in the game or tie the game, which happened. This was a real back and forth one. We're going to get to the other games in a few minutes, but it's hard to enjoy it. I mean, this isn't just a this season problem. Like this has gone back years where it's really hard to enjoy them playing because you just kind of know that there's some doom coming around the corner, and that's basically what happened today. And it's just it's become rough. And I know there's 9 games left. I mean, there's just a month left here. I mean, it's going to be April on Tuesday, which is kind of crazy. And they've got 9 games left, and I don't know. It's going to be hard to kind of watch them all. But at the other hand, you know, I hate the way I'm going to say this because I'm going to be pretty angry for the rest of the episode. I think we do have a Master League Theater coming up to kind of cleanse everybody's palate in the second half. But I mean, they are only 3 points out, and none of these other teams want to win any games. So I know logically in my head they are still very much alive. But in going over these last 4 games, it's impossible to think that they are actually alive.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like the Schrodinger's Islanders, right? Like, are they alive or are they not alive? Like, it's just, I don't know. They are, but they aren't. I don't know if there's another way to put it, really.
Well, and this was the other problem with where we're at, like right now, just in terms of the like on the calendar, the actual day that we're on and the week that we just had,
Right.
is we didn't have a night off at all. And I think that's part of what gets lost on the broadcasters and maybe some of the media folk, that they're like, well, the Islanders are, you know, they're fighting hard and they're right there, and you're like, well, yeah, and so we just did it too. And we know where they are. We were up watching the Rangers play the Kings at 1 a.m.
Right.
I was watching the Canadians come back against the Avalanche, and you know, I was watching the
Flyers, right?
Flyers,
the
that
Flyers
game, right? The Blues beat the Canadians. You know, we've been through it. Like this was just a gauntlet of a week for scoreboard watching.
There was a couple of Red Wings games this weekend too.
Yeah,
that they're back in it now too.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Here come the Red Wings again.
Right.
Of course, the Rangers win 1 game, and of course they're somehow tied with the Canadians because that's just how it just seems like the NHL just throws them a 3-point win every once in a while, because you know they get written off, and you're looking at the standings, you're like, why are the Rangers being written off like for the 80th time when they're still here? And it's just it just tells you that, like, it's that James Franco meme, like, first time, like, yeah, you're not written off until you're done. But yeah, so I think everyone's just exhausted. I think that's why it feels hopeless, although it's 3 points. Canadians lose to the Panthers, and the Islanders beat the Lightning, and whatever, some other stuff happens, they're right back in it, and we all know that. Like, it's you just said it. The Red Wings are in the same spot as the Islanders, except they're feeling good about where they're at because they just kind of clawed their way into some sort of hope again, and so it's exhausting. That's why it feels that way. But as you said, like, you know, if you do want to hang on the ride, or you're like me, and it's not that you want to, it's just you don't have the fortitude, the intestinal fortitude to just pull the chute and get off of it. And when you knew you should, we joked about on the second game of the season when they lost to the Dallas Stars that it was clear that this season was going down a familiarly cursed path because of the way that game went. And we were bang on. Like, it's you so it's not just this week that's been exhausting, it's just been the season, and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't get any less exhausting. It doesn't twist you any less with each passing game. Last week we said, who's going to be the Buddy Robinson or the Peter Mrazek, right? Like, we're like, who's that person has yet to present itself. And for a second, you know who it looked like it was going to be was Brad Shaw. Like, all of a sudden, Brad Shaw became a huge part of the 2024, 2021, 25 Islanders, right? Like, it's he presented himself, and the Islanders squandered the ability. They squandered the opportunity to make Brad Shaw a supporting character in this terrible movie we've all been watching, which is unforgivable, honestly. But yeah, so like we're I guess in a weird way, we're looking for heroes, and cult heroes and people we can believe in, except we're looking for them on other teams.
Mm.
Because as we've seen this week, I don't know if any of the Islanders are going to do anything heroic here. They
Right.
have less. Bradshaw has more of a chance to do something heroic than a lot of the folks who play for the Islanders right now.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, and every time somebody does do something that you think is heroic, somebody else screws
Right.
up and the whole thing falls apart, right? Like
right.
Pierre Engvall has 2 goals in a game, and you're like, wow, maybe they make something. Or Anders Lee twice this week came out of nowhere to make a game, kind of redeem the Islanders in a after a period of, oh my God, they're going to throw this away, and then they end up throwing it away anyway. So it's like, yeah, it's Bradshaw, welcome back into the Islanders' life. Although he says, I said this on Blue Sky, he has a chance to be the very rare weird coach for 2 separate teams if he gets let go at the end of the season. But we're not here to talk about the Flyers. We're going to talk about the Islanders games this week. Reminder that we are on Patreon at patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Membership gets you episodes without ads. So if you don't want to hear the ads in these episodes, you can sign up at the Patreon and not hear them. We also have bonus podcasts, written posts, and a whole lot more. So sign up today, patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Okay. I do want to start with the Blue Jackets game because that incident happened right after we recorded our last episode. And so we didn't get to kind of say our piece on what transpired. That is a little bit of old news right now, but Elliot Friedman talked about it again on Saturday. So we're going to use that as a license to talk about it again. So the Islanders lost 4-3 in a shootout. They were up 2-0 after the first period. They absolutely dominated the Blue Jackets from top to bottom to the point where it looked like they were going to pack them in a box and ship them back to Ohio via DHL. That's how dominant that period was. And then they just decided that they didn't want to play anymore. So the Blue Jackets crawled back in the second period. They tie the game on a Boone Jenner shorthanded goal because, of course, they did. Lee makes it 3-2 at the end of the period. And again, you think, okay, they've redeemed themselves. If they can, lock it down in the third period and maybe get out of here with a win. And they did not. The Blue Jackets dominated them the way they had dominated the first period. Shots were 17-4 Columbus in that period. There was a million icings. Kirill Marchenko scores to tie the game at 3. And then with 10 seconds left, Kyle Palmieri appears to score a goal from a shot from Alex Romanov. It is immediately and instantaneously waved off by the referee. There's a lengthy review, and it is determined that Palmieri had interfered with goalie Elvis Merzlikins, and the goal didn't count, and we're going to go to overtime. I'm going to stop here and throw it to you because, again, I have a lot to say about this. What did you make of this play? We don't need to talk about overtime yet. We'll get there in a minute. But, at this point in the game, they've appeared to have tied the game, but they really haven't. And the goal gets waved off. Where are your thoughts at, and what were your feelings at this point of the game?
Well, yeah, and you said it a couple minutes ago about how when the Islanders have someone or do something heroic, it seems like they unravel in the blink of an eye too. Like they work so hard to get leads and to score goals and to impose their will in a game. It takes that Trotzian saying that now is like part of just the NHL like nomenclature. Like we got to our game. The Islanders have to work really hard to get to their game these days because they're just not very good. And for some reason, that Blue Jackets game, they looked Harlem Globetrottery in that first period. Maybe the best they played all year in a 20-minute sample. They get the lead, they get another goal, they pad the lead, and in the blink of an eye, Noah Dobson makes one mistake, and that's all it took for the Islanders to just put their tail between their legs. He just had a terrible gap on Adam Fantilli, and that was that. Like he took a shot that Sorokin. I mean, I think you probably just say between that one and the Boone Jenner goal, like you probably want one of them and whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was just really poorly played by Dobson, and I think both pucks were deflected. Whatever. Yeah, still 2-1 Islanders. Islanders get a power play, which is not good for the Islanders ever. And there's Boone Jenner with the puck on his stick. And he's skating at Noah Dobson. And it was one of those moments where you've got... It's crazy how quick your mind can process things. when you're watching a hockey game, because as Boone Jenner was skating through the neutral zone in the 1 second it took him to get from blue line to blue line, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm actually kind of happy that it's Dobson on Boone Jenner, because I know that Noah Dobson just made a really bad mistake about giving up the blue line too easily and having a bad gap on Adam Fantilli, and it led to a goal. And now I trust that he's going to learn from that mistake, because he probably heard from the coach on the bench, like, Noah, do better than that. So he's going to be tight to him here. Oh my God, he just did it again, right? Like it's and that was kind of the attitude I then took for the rest of the game. Yeah, the Islanders get a goal from Lee. It's 3-2, as you said, and they give up the game tying goal, but that game tying goal was always coming. Like from the second that Adam Fantilli scored to make it 2-1, that game was either going to go to overtime or the Islanders would lose it in regulation no matter what. What I didn't account for is, like you said, how it would get there. There's like everyone said their piece, had their say over like just the actual like physics of the play, the logistics of the play, and the science behind it. We don't need to get into any of that. I will just say that I feel that the Islanders got absolutely jobbed on that call, and that we will not see another goaltender interference called in that way for the rest of the season and into the playoffs, because nobody's going to want. They're just not going to wave it off on the ice, and it just happens to be the Islanders that have to suffer for it. And there's like, no use crying over spilled milk because of what's transpired since that goal. But the Islanders win that game in that fashion, and who knows, what happens from there. But the sense of just complete dread that I felt, and doom and gloom after that game, that's what I'm most upset about, right? Like I don't want to get into the rule book or anything else. I just want to get into how it made me feel. And that goal really kind of hammered home everything we always talk about on this show, especially when the Islanders are going in the way they are, which is, there might just be a hex over this team. Like this could be a complete waste of time rooting for the Islanders with as much passion and time that you give them, because they just might never win and make it worth it. And it might not even be their fault sometimes. It just might be that that's the way that the hockey gods pull the strings. And to go from sitting on my couch screaming, shouting happiness when that puck went in, to completely sinking into it and feeling like I was being pulled into like a netherworld by dread, and in the matter of time that it took, it's unfair. Not I'm once again not even saying rule book unfair. I'm saying it's just unfair how life is as an Islander fan. It's not and it's unfair that you've signed up for this too, because like it's nobody's fault but your own that you are this invested in it. But at the same time, like that's simplifying fandom way, watering it down way too much, and it would take years and years of therapy to kind of undo what you feel and why you feel the way you do about the Islanders. So that's the worst part about it. It's like I went to bed that night. Yeah, I was mad about how it was called. I was already mad about how it was going to be discussed, and how everyone was going to just, like look at us as a one-off situation and not bring up the in cartoons or something when there's like a court case or like they're at like the DMV, and there'll just be a cartoonishly big like code book or law book.
Oh yeah,
that they put like
Boom,
right exactly. This makes a noise when you put it on the stand. That's why like nobody was gonna bring that book to the stand and be like, yeah, but it's not just this goal. It's not. It's Devon Taves' kick from below the red line against the Hurricanes. Scott Mayfield getting whacked in the face in the playoffs against the Hurricanes. It's did the Lightning have too many men and the shorthanded goal? Like it's just there's the Kraken interference call that didn't go our way. The Stars interference call that didn't go our way this season. And so like there's this whole litany behind it. And you knew that wasn't, nobody was coming to the discussion table with that baggage, because they don't pay attention to the Islanders that way, which whatever. But yeah, so I went to bed thinking, already mad about that, mad about the fact that they blew what would have been the biggest win of the season. They got it taken away in some respects, and also as I said, like jarring around in your head, being like, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why this game matters to this team matters to me as much as it does, or that this game, like the Islanders, even if they won this game and got into the playoffs, yeah, they get smoked. Like, why does this game matter so much to me? It's not like it's not gonna win the Islanders the Stanley Cup. Like, there's no parade for beating the Columbus Blue Jackets on March 26th. It's all of those emotions are what made that decision suck, because it had the ref just let the play go. I don't go to bed thinking, why the fuck am I an Islander fan, right?
Yeah.
I go to bed thinking, God, it's amazing to be an Islander fan. Like, this is awesome. Like, it's so good. The other 31 fan bases will never feel the way I do. And instead, it was the exact opposite of that. So
yeah,
that's where I was at. And when that puck or that ref waved off that goal.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to process.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it sucked, right? You had all of a sudden I had all this emotional homework to do.
Yeah,
because this one kind of boneheaded split second decision.
Right
now, you just it was like someone wait when the teacher's like, "Hey, summer vacation. As long as there's no more questions left," and then someone pops their hand up, like, "I actually got one more question I want to ask about geometry."
And you want to strangle that person.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. That happens. That happens a lot in not just in school, but in meetings too. You have like a company-wide meeting, and it's like, hey, anybody have any questions? And everybody's like, okay, we can get out of here. And there's always one person that's like, actually, and I'm like, oh my God. And then everybody starts giving that person the death stare, But everything you said, I agree with, but I'm also going to disagree a little bit, because 100%, there are definitely forces at work against the Islanders. I think we could all agree. And this is kind of one of those cases. It's been debated ad nauseum. Again, Elliot Friedman was just talking about this on Hockey Night in Canada. They took an entire intermission bit with him and Ron McLean to talk about these goalie interference calls, and it did absolutely nothing to clear anything up. It just made everything more. They showed a bunch of different calls, including the Islanders game, and all of them were different. None of them had anything going on. There's one where like a Flyers guy crashes into a goalie, ends up on the other side of the net. Another Flyers guy skates behind the goalie. The first guy scores, and then they let it go. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what is that? Like, what happens there? One of them, they showed a Stuart Skinner goal against, or a Stars goal against the Oilers, and Stuart Skinner clearly dove. Like, he clearly dove. And they're like, well, this one didn't count. Well, that's a dive. You should have gotten 2 minutes for diving. Like, none of this makes any sense. Anybody that tells you otherwise is lying to you, or trying to make sure that the NHL will return their calls by being like, well, clearly this is what the referees are calling. No, it's not. It's not what they're calling. And once the playoffs start, they will throw the rule book out, as they always do. Here's the thing, though. This goal happens with 10 seconds left, right? And I'm with you. Like, 1 minute I'm like excited. The next minute I'm like, wait, why are they talking? Why are they still talking? I had completely forgotten about this until the Isles House guys mentioned this. The Blue Jackets had challenged a goal in the second period, and they're supposed to have like 30 seconds to decide whether they want to challenge or not. They had literally 5 minutes. Like, the referees just gave them all the time in the world. You remember this?
Yeah, they talked about this on The Point the next day too. Because like, before we get Boomer and Gordon, it was like, before we get to that, like, I've never seen anything like that. And the worst part about it was like Wes McCauley being like, "No, you sure you guys made your decision yet?" And Butchie was apoplectic, and I'm talking about that book, right? Like that hypothetical cartoonish book. Nobody outside the Islanders and Boomer, who's just the best, I think, to actually like do a roundup show, picked up on that. Like, it's nobody else is being like, yeah, should we maybe instead of trying to split hairs on these goaltender interference calls. Like, can we stop that?
Yeah.
It was Evison and Macaulay were like having a conversation.
Right.
It's like, yeah, let me just, they didn't even call a timeout.
No.
They didn't call a timeout to like get, which is still a bogus move, I think, to be like, oh, let us look. What a joke. But yeah. And that goal 1,000,000% should have counted in my eyes. But I was like, there's no way that this is going to stand up because of what I just watched transpire between the coach and the ref of the other team. And we've been clamoring for the Lou Lamoriello and Patrick Waugh, the vintage versions of them forever. And I was like, why isn't Patrick Waugh climbing over the plexiglass right now and trying to fight Dean Evison?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And it made the waved off goal at the end exponentially worse. And because at that point I remembered it, but days later I did not. So this goal happens, it gets waved off, there's the review, blah, blah, blah. Again, Friedman keeps saying that, well, Palmieri was in the crease for a second and Merzlikins used that and pushed up. Show me the camera angle where Kyle Palmieri's in the crease. He's not at any point. And so that, to me, it should have been a goal, but whatever. The call is absolutely stupid, as we've been talking about, and it's nonsense, but it is what it is. However, that being said, one stupid, terrible, perhaps somewhat supernatural call by a referee aside, does not obviate and should not obfuscate the preceding 39 minutes and 50 seconds in which the Islanders once again threw away a game in which they had everything going for them. They had a 2-0 lead, a dominant first period. They took the better part of the next 2 periods off, including the entire third period until that goal. And so when the goal gets waved off, and then, by the way, there's the following 5 minutes in overtime in which the Islanders do absolutely nothing, and then yet another embarrassing shootout in which they lose. Anthony Duclair loses the puck. That's even more supernatural. He's skating up the ice and the puck just literally is nope, and just takes off his stick. All of that does not negate the goal. I can't look at the goal and be like, wow, they got screwed here, when I can remember all the times they had to win the game in regulation without having to worry about the goal. And so by the time that goal gets waved off, my tank of sympathy is empty. I have no sympathy at all. I had nothing, no kind of feeling about this at all, because all I could think of was, you guys had 39 minutes and 50 seconds to win this game outright from a team that was falling apart and could not buy a goal and could not buy a win for 2 weeks before that. And you let them off the hook again, one more time in this 3-year stretch of doing this over and over and over and over again. They're going to do it again this week. They just did it today against Carolina. They fought back. They had 2 leads and they threw them away. This team does this all the time. And so I'm sorry. And this might make me an outlier amongst the fan base. I'm sorry, but I can't look at that waved off goal, as shitty and as stupid and as boneheaded as it was, to use your words, you're right, 100% boneheaded, and forget about the rest of the game, because these guys could have had a 5-0 lead halfway through the game, chased Merzlikins out of there, and again, sent the Blue Jackets packing back to the Buckeye State with nothing. But instead, they let them off the hook, and the Blue Jackets won. And for a moment, we're in a playoff spot. They're not anymore, but they were at that moment. So this is just, I was more mad at the Islanders than I was at the refs. I don't expect the refs to be good. I expect incompetence from referees all the time, and I'm almost never disappointed. But these guys, I just have no sympathy for them. And then Palmieri's like, wow, that call was fucking embarrassing. Kyle, you know what else is embarrassing? Rooting for the Islanders is pretty fucking embarrassing, my friend. A lot. It really is. You guys could have blown this team out, but you decided to just not play. They do this all the time. And I'm sick to death of this last season, the season before, this team constantly fighting and scraping tooth and nail to reach the lowest possible rung of the ladder at the last possible second and telling us that it's okay. It's not okay. Stop telling me it's okay. Stop telling me how great you guys are and all the chances we had. I liked our resiliency. Okay, well, did you win the game? Well, no. Okay, so who cares? So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I
call
think
was second, but so was the second, and third period.
I think both things are true, right? Like it's just I think that's
Yeah.
I think you said it like this is their fault that they put themselves in a spot
Yeah.
where they can have stuff taken away from them.
They played like assholes.
And frankly, like they've played since that first period in Columbus. They played 2, 5, 8, 11 periods, I believe.
Yeah.
And I would say they've played like assholes in 9 out of the 11, and
Pretty
maybe that's even being like flattering them a little. It's probably 10 out of 11, and it could be even 11 out of 11 if you think about how the fact that they scored those 3 goals in the third period against Tampa Bay was like, yeah, you better fucking do something like that because you just no-showed in a huge game.
Right.
So like that's assholery as well. I think it's true. I mean, you can that the point is like that decision to I agreed with what Palmieri said, how like it seemed like that ref just couldn't wait to wave it off, and I was
Also
like, that's
irritating.
exactly how I felt. And I think you can agree that you could feel that the Islanders were just on the once again, and this isn't an outlier. This is once again the Islanders are on a wrong end of a borderline egregious, like should be illegal kind of thing. I also thought one of the icings in that poem of there was like a sonnet of icings, and one of them was a terrible call, and it just led to the goal. But and the Pelech call in that game was pretty terrible too. But like the Islanders were on the wrong end of a lot of breaks, and the reason I think most people don't like to talk about officiating anymore is because if you gripe about every call, like if we spent 15 minutes talking about that Adam Pelech slashing call against Zach Werenski, like, oh, that's a terrible call, we'd be doing that every week, and then when a time comes where they actually do get hosed, like they did with the Cizikas play or this one, it
means
like
nothing.
Yeah, exactly, right? So but like I think the difference between the Islanders and these other teams is what I was trying to say is that or the better teams is these other teams put enough of a gap between them and their opposition, not just in a game, but in the entire league, in the competition of trying to finish in the top 8 and then going to the Stanley Cup final, that they might get a game taken away from them by the Stripes, or they might get a game taken away from them by someone headering a puck over Ilya Sorokin's head, or and it won't send their fan base crawling back to their bed considering every decision they've made. Like, why did I go to that game when I was 11 years old that turned me into a fan? Like, why did I have to do that? I couldn't think about all the hours I've spent on this team just to lead to this moment and feel the way I do. Like, those they don't do it because, oh, that's all right. We're only 12 points clear of the playoff cut line now, right? Like, it's
right.
Meanwhile, or the other way, it's like, yeah, another bad break for us, but we're a shitty team. We're 20 points off. It's like, nah, the Islanders, it's every call, every bounce matters so much from this team for game 1 to game 70 that it's exhausting. And that's why it's tough to listen to Shannon and after a game be like, yeah, I know, I get it. I know what you're trying to say. I know what you're trying to do, but I watched this team blow that game to the Blackhawks, and I watched Adam Pelech and Mike Riley go down the same game, and I watched Sebastian Aho and Adam Pelech and go down in the same game the season before that, and I've been through all these wars. I don't need you G'ing me up. Like, I just need you to just be like, wow, that was tough, and I don't know how any of you are still alive. Like, that's what I need to hear from these broadcasters, because it's that's how we feel it, and it almost feels like we deserve a little bit more respect for than we get for being here, and that's not just from Shannon and the broadcast or the people in the media. It's just generally like
Oh, definitely.
We're carrying this baggage that, yeah, it's superficial because it's about sports, but it really weighs on you. And there's nobody like holds our. I just want my hand held for a little while here to someone to say, yeah, no, I get it. Like, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that Alex Romanov's stick blew up into 30 pieces, and Lucas Raymond skated down the ice for the Red Wings to beat you, and then someone scored 30 seconds later, and they did it in regulation.
Yeah. Right.
If someone said that to me, I think I would just, have one of those moments like in Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault.
Right.
Like one of those
Breaking
moments.
down, yeah.
I just need one of those moments, I think.
I feel like we've referenced that scene a couple of times on this show because and who's we'll get to the other games in a minute, but who's close to being that guy is actually Cal Clutterbuck. Was that this week where he was like, it. I can see why it's frustrating as a fan because like they're working really hard to stay in this game, and then every next minute they give up the go ahead goal. It's like, yes, Cal, yes, you get it now, right?
Just hearing him say that felt almost was, I guess, pretty close to that moment, as you said,
right?
Because I think Thomas Hickey, as good a game as Thomas Hickey calls, like Thomas Hickey is clearly like he's calling games just to, he's both because he knows he's got a great Islander resume and we love him and whatever, but also like this guy's polishing up, like he's gonna be Ray Ferraro, right? Like we all know that, and so he can't really color outside the lines as much, I feel like. As Cal in one season and what he's probably broadcast 15 games, if that. It's just like Jesus Christ. I don't know how these fans could do it. Like it must be so frustrating. And I was like, when I heard that, I did feel my knees kind of buckle a little bit and be like,
right.
Thank you.
Because I wasn't even paying attention, and you were like, "Oh, Cal gets it." And I'm like, "He does," and you told me. I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess that's true." So I kind of went back and watched it.
And he'd be the last person I'd expect. I'd be like, if I saw Cal Clutterbuck online at like a deli, and I was like, "Yeah, you just don't understand. I watched you guys fight tooth and nail and scrape together points and goals, and then you blink you blink and you're down 2-1, and it's just crazy because it felt like you just worked so hard to get that lead, and you guys just sag and give it up just like that." I feel like Cal Clutterbuck would take that a lot of offense to that and maybe punch me in my face.
Right.
But now that he's a fan, now that he's one of the biggest Islander fans out there, he's invested in a different way and a more dangerous way in the New York Islanders than he was as a player. Cal's going to bed. He's going to bed at night and he's thinking about the Islanders and losses.
Right.
And that's not good, Cal. Get away from this team as quickly as you can.
Yeah, right. Yeah, seriously. But yeah, anyway, so the Islanders go on from that. They lose in the shootout. Adam Fantilli is the only guy who scores. The shootout is embarrassing. Again, the Isles House guys had Sorokin's record in the shootout, which is abysmal. And as Ethan pointed out, well, how many goals have the Islanders scored in those shootouts? Probably 0, because they just never score. And this time they didn't score either. And I just wrote here my notes: asshole bullshit, even without the late no goal, which is how I would sum that up. Okay, so that was Monday. Wednesday, they're facing another team battling for the playoffs, the Vancouver Canucks. And you think, okay, the Canucks are struggling a little bit. The Islanders are mad. They're pissed off about what happened against Columbus. Maybe they can make something happen here. Nope, they lost 5-2. No goals in the first. The Islanders were the better team in the first. Thatcher Demko was terrific. And then in the second, they just were like, I think we've done enough. Kiefer Sherwood got a tip of a Quinn Hughes shot, makes it 1-0. Casey Cizikas scores a shorthanded goal from J.G. Pajot, ties the game. It's all Islanders from here on out. D'Angelo finds Demko out of position. He finds Cizikas, makes it 2-1. Then, of course, Atu Ratu ties the game. And then just before the end of the period, Derek Forbert from distance gets past, makes it 3-2. The Islanders were buzzing. That was immediately stopped. And all of a sudden, it's 3-2 Vancouver going into the third period. And Teddy Bluger decides, that's not good enough. He makes it 4-2 early on. That pulls Ilya Sorokin for the first time in forever. Hogberg comes in. There's a couple of chances. The Islanders had a late power play. Nothing happened. And they end up losing 5-2. Sherwood again from Pius Suter gets an empty net goal, and that was it. Again, the sight of seeing Ilya Sorokin pulled after 15 saves is a very rare one for us and kind of shook me a little bit. But this is amongst the most brutal losses. We talk about the feel-bad losses. This is one of the most feel-bad losses of all time. We're going to talk about the Canucks again in our second half when we do our Master Leaf Theater thing. So I want to get into what's happened to them since this game too. But boy, this was just a stinker, like just an absolute straight up stinker. They had a great first period, and unlike in the Blue Jackets game, they couldn't get anything past the goalie at all. And again, all credit to Demko, who was great. But again, they just decided. I mean, it wasn't the drop off between the first and then second and third wasn't nearly as bad as it was against Columbus, but it was almost the same exact blueprint. And it's like, guys, really? We're doing this again? And this time they lost 5-2 to a team another team they could have beaten, but just didn't.
I didn't even talk about the overtime in Columbus because I feel like if you saw what happened to get to that overtime, it didn't matter. Like that, the Islanders could have had 3 skaters and the Blue Jackets could have had 0, and they wouldn't have won that game, right? Like it's just once that happens, you're not getting back. And part of going to bed that night too was like, I don't trust myself or this team to be able to pick itself up or myself back up enough to put together another win against a team that's going to scrap like the Canucks did. And I thought, and I'm upset for not putting this out there, was I was like, this game's going to look really familiar to the Blue Jackets game, I bet. Like it's going to look almost, you could just switch the 2 games, the 2 teams, and it wouldn't make a difference. And that's how it went. Yeah, I mean, the Islanders they're playing well. Shot out of a cannon. Other goalies playing really well. They go down. That Casey Zizekas goal, whatever, crazy. They almost score again on shorthanded, and then they do score again. And you're feeling like, okay, the Islanders are, on paper, they're supposed to be, they're on paper, they're the team fighting for their playoffs lives. They just took a lead against another team that's doing the same thing. They are in the pole position here. They should, logically, if you thought of it logically, they should be able to see this one out, wrestle control of this game, and just kind of squeeze the life out of this Canucks team that's on this long Eastern Coast road trip.
Yeah. This was their third of 3 games in the area, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like dealing with a ton of media fallout all season. They're exhausted. You can take their will out.
They had Noah Elias Pettersson. Somebody else was missing from the lineup too.
Yeah. Yep. This whole it was all there. That's what I'm saying. Like everything was there for the taking. The Canucks are just waiting to fold their hand. And once again, it's just one little stint of assholery from the Islanders just turns into an entire circus of it. That second goal, like it just whatever. Like you knew that Aatu Ratu was going to score at some point, so whatever. But the one, actually, the goal that really ticked me off was the one to make it 3-2, because every Islander on the ice had the opportunity there to just end the period. I think it started with Dobson behind the net. He gave it to Pelech. Pelech made a pass to Duclair or Lee. Someone turned the puck over at the neutral zone, and all someone needed to do was like kind of shepherd that puck and the puck carrier like towards the corner, and the period would end. Instead, they decide to like let a cross ice pass to give the Derek Forbert a wide open shot, and they score. And then afterwards, you see their reaction, and I think like Adam Pelech was like looked really ticked off, and all I could think was, you have no right. You don't have the right to be mad right now. Like I do, right. You don't, because this is happening over and over again, and this game is now over because you guys, despite being in this precarious position, aren't sharp enough and aren't like, we need to execute, details matter, last minute of the period. That is such textbook stuff for teams that are in that position. Like they go into a game and they're like, look, first minute, last minute, make sure that we're clean. And I'm sure the bench with like 90 seconds left in that period, they're like, look, like let's get out of here. We'll nothing dumb here. And the Islanders hear that, and it goes in one ear and out the other, and they're like, I'll just do what I'm gonna do.
Right.
And you could see it happening. Like I remember when Duclair or whoever turned that puck over, and I looked at the clock and I was like, oh my God. Like they're absolutely going to score here. There's so much, they could score twice if they wanted to, because of the way that these guys are playing. And despite it being a do or die game, basically. And I was just so mad. That was about as mad as I've been at the Islanders in a long time. Because as mad as you were at the Islanders on the Blue Jackets game for blowing it, I was able to, I don't know, I was more mad at myself than the Islanders for letting something like that just completely baffle my brain. But this time I was just mad, and there's like no excuse for what that's the word, right? That loss to the Canucks was just inexcusable.
Yeah.
It's borderline inexcusable on November 8th, but when you're 1 point out of the playoffs on the night and have a chance to jump into a playoff position for the first time since November 19th, the Islanders have spent one night in the playoffs all season, I think, is what I've heard. November 19th into November, they spent one night. November 19th into November 20th, they were in a playoff position, and that's that. So your first time being able to get back into a playoff spot since before Thanksgiving, and you just completely puke it away on your own volition. Like, the Canucks didn't take this game from you.
No.
Demko, you had Demko broken. Like, he played a really good first period, and then Casey Zizekas broke him. And then you just decided that, it's just not that important to us. Like, who cares? Like, we'll see you guys next October anyways, because you're losers. Like, you'll be here, and we'll probably be here too, because we all have no trade clauses. So
right. Yeah, no, inexcusable is the perfect word. I should have said that before. You're 100% right. It really was. And it's like, but it's an inexcusable loss that we've seen 100 times. I mean, how many months ago was it that I said that every Islanders game is just a parade of inexcusable bullshit?
Right.
It's the same thing. They constantly play every game like it's the All-Star game. Like, nobody's trying. So with 30 seconds left, they're ready in the locker room. Meanwhile, the other team is still playing. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And again, Demko was really the only Canucks guy who showed up for the first half of the game, and then all of a sudden everybody else started showing up too. And they walked out with 2 points that the Islanders could have had, and just didn't want to take it. It's ridiculous. So then the worst part about these two losses, with all due respect to the Blue Jackets and Canucks, is that these were the two most winnable games of the week, because now the Islanders are headed out to the road to two places that they never win: Tampa and Carolina. And don't come back with, they've won there before. It doesn't matter. It feels like they never win in either of these places. And sure enough, they did not win in either of these two places. So they're playing Tampa Bay on Saturday afternoon. We get word. It looks like Andre Vasilevsky is going to start. Turns out he's not. It's Jonas Johansson. And, you start thinking, oh, okay, they're getting the backup. That makes things a little bit easier. Nope. It's 4-0 Tampa after the second period. It doesn't matter who scored. It was 4-0 Tampa. They had a bunch of chances. Who cares? It doesn't matter. None of them was going in the net. So all of a sudden, the third period, the Islanders start playing a little bit, and they start getting a little bit of luck. Actually, it's really real answer. Bullock on the power play from distance makes it 4-1. Okay, great. Mark Gatcomb is the recipient of a very soft goal by Jonas Johansson. Whatever, doesn't matter. Now it's 4-2. Tony DeAngelo way down low for some reason makes it 4-3, all in the first 9 minutes of the period. And you're like, oh, wow. Okay. They've got 11 minutes now to tie this game up. That they can do to another team what is constantly done to them. And of course, that never happens. Tampa Bay locks them down. Kucherov passes up a chance at getting an empty net goal, but then, and at first you thought, oh man, that mistake might actually help the Islanders. They go on the other end of the ice. Maybe they can get some going. Nope, never happens. He ends up getting an empty net goal anyway. It's his fourth point of the game, and the Islanders are just left with a 5-3 loss in a place, again, where they never win. Sorokin was not good, really, in the game at all, but he didn't have a lot of help. Johansson was good. He made 35 saves, and all we heard about was, wow, we had all these chances. Look at all these shots we had. Okay, great. Did you win the game? No? Then who fucking cares? Like, I can't deal with this sort of stuff at game 70 when we're trying to make the playoffs and quote unquote be in the race for the Stanley Cup. If they were the Sharks or Blackhawks and it was game 70 and it was like, oh, okay, well, we outshot those guys and we just lost, but we're making progress, then that's one thing. This is not that team. Like, nobody here wants to achieve anything other than just being in it. We are like, this is where I started getting mad at this game. And now I'm like kind of almost reaching galaxy brain levels of hatred here. Like, I feel like this team has taken us through the looking glass of the advanced analytics revolution, so to speak. It used to be that like, oh, you can't look at those stats. You got to watch the games. Then it was like, well, no, you watch the games and you look at the stats and you put them together and you have like a full picture of what's going on. Now it's like, well, don't worry about the final score. Look at how many chances we had. Look at how many shots we have. Who cares? Who cares? You lost. You lost the game. You guys have fallen out of the playoff race. What are you doing? Who cares about how many shots you have? Stop telling me how many chances you had and how good Pierre Engvall looked or how good Hudson Fasching looks. Or should we put Gatcombe on the third line and should we move Siplikov up? Who cares? Who cares? None of these things are resulting in any wins, so who cares? So anyway, it's just this was an incredibly frustrating game, and the fact that they came back, made it 4-3 at one point, made me even more mad.
Right, exactly. They when that game went to 3-0, I turned it off, and I was like, they better get shut out 8-0 here, just so that they're due to score against Carolina on Sunday, and because I think that would make 13 goals let in a row or whatever with the Canucks game and that, and they ruined that, and got back in that game so that. You've ever been drunk twice in the same day? You maybe you have a day drinking, you wake up early, drink, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up and you're sober again, and then you get drunk again that night. I've done it, and that game felt like that in a weird way because I got really mad at how they started the game. They go down 3, okay, whatever. Sorokin should have played better that game. You're the resilient, believe in the room character guys, never out of it. We know we can make it. Look at us. We're the Islanders. You can't kill us, as they said on a New York Islanders podcast a week ago. We're going to show up and try and fight to the very end. And then you walk into Amalie Arena and you're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, a very, very good hockey team, one that you should still be a little bitter towards because they especially the person I'm about to make this about, they beat you twice in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2 years in a row, including one Game 7 that was just devastating. And you walk into that arena and you decide the way to show that you are this high character, fight to the very end, blood and guts team is 90 seconds into the game, allow Nikita Kucherov, a very, very good player, just to walk in over the blue line and score. And do you want Sorokin to make that save? Sure. But it's Nikita. It wasn't Hudson Fasching walking into the blue line, right? I'm sure Victor Hedman at one point in that game saw Hudson Fasching and was like, I'll give this guy the blue line. He's got less goals than Ilya Sorokin this season. I think it's okay. Ryan Pulock looked at Nikita Kucherov and was like, I think this is probably a good spot to be, a nice safe distance away. Let him, that number 86 guy, fire a shot. My goalie will save it. That's how you're going to show up to this game with that. And you're going to then feed bullshit afterwards about, you said, didn't play that bad. You were down 4-0. You played bad.
What are we talking about? When is being down 4-0 okay?
It's not. It's not okay, especially when you if the Dallas Stars said that, you'd be like, okay, that maybe it pissed me off because they lost. I'm a Dallas Stars fan. I want the Dallas Stars to win as many games as possible, but I look at the standings and they've got 100 points tonight. So I can't be that mad at them. And then you look at, like you said, the Sharks or the Blackhawks, go right ahead. But you're the team that's supposed to be here to rugby your way into the playoffs. And instead you're like, we're just going to make this a cakewalk for the other team. And then, and we'll turn it on for 8 or 9 minutes and then lie to our fans and everybody about how we played well afterwards. And you've done that 30 times this season. I think there's probably been more losses this year, and the Islanders have a lot of losses. I don't know if you realize that. The Islanders have lost a lot of games this season. I think it's 47 maybe? No, excuse me. 41 losses this season for the Islanders. So that's going to be at least half their games of the regular season they've lost. And out of the 41 losses, I'd probably say we've heard after the game that they played well in 29.
Oh, easily. Yeah. The entire first half of the year, that was all it was. Yeah.
And you can't say that you can't be the Soviet Red Army team in the 70s and 80s and say that 29 out of 41 times.
Right.
You can't even say it 5. You can say it once every couple of weeks and look us in the eye and it's bizarre. It's who do these guys and I'm not even saying it like that exasperated cliche, who do you think you are? I actually want to know who the Islanders think they are. Like when they show up to a game and they're getting off the bus and they got their suits on and they're walking in their head, who do they think they are? Like,
Yeah.
are they the dream team? Like walking in here, are they the Soviets? Are they the 2021 Islanders? Like who's walking into the building in their mind? Because it's definitely not the 2024-25 New York Islanders. They don't think that they're that. They think they are a very different team. They think they're like the Guy Lafleur Habs or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. And like, that's another thing I was going to say was just like, stop telling us how well you played when all you keep doing is losing. Like, what purpose is this serving? Who are you trying to fool? I don't understand. No, you're not fooling anybody. You keep saying, well, Patrick Watt's favorite thing, oh, I love this team's resiliency. Resilient to what? They keep losing. Oh, they came back to lose and didn't get shut out, I guess, and they fought back. Okay, great. Did you win? No, you lost. So what is happening right now? Well, he said something after the Lightning game where it was like, well, we had a lot of chances and we outshoot them, and he said something about kind of like sticking to the process. And I'm like, sticking to the process? It's game 70. What process is left? There's no more process. The process is over. The season is practically over. What process are we talking about? This isn't game 12. This is game 70. What?
I wonder if he's a juniors coach. Like he coached so long in junior. Like if he thinks that way, maybe. Yeah. But the point is it's no excuse, and it's not, and it's not just Watt either. It's the entire
the whole operation.
Yeah. Right. It's oh man, like this looked real. This power play looked really dynamic in the preseason. Duclair and Barzal and Horvat look like they have great chemistry in the preseason. Max Ziplikov in front of the net in the power play looks like it's gonna work. Pelech and Polak saying they're gonna have swagger and or just because you're saying this stuff doesn't mean it's true, because you're not showing it on the ice the next time you have the opportunity. Case in point, Andrew Gross had it in his mind to like write a story about. He clearly was like, oh, I got a good, easy article to write on for Monday morning's paper. If the Islanders win, that they won the game in the third period against the Lightning by building off of that momentum. And the Islanders are like, yeah, like we can definitely carry this momentum into Sunday. And as soon as I saw those quotes, and it's not Andrew's fault, obviously, this is how these things with the Islanders go. Like as soon as I saw, I think it was Mark Gatcomb say we could definitely build off of the third period for Monday. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, like they're gonna just think just because they said it, it's just gonna happen, and they're gonna look terrible in the first. And it was 2-0 Carolina in the first 5 minutes. Granted, the Islanders come back and tie that game in the first, but there's no such thing as like these things are cliches. They're in paper or spoken word cliches that mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah. If
you're losing 41 games out of your first 73 and you're supposed to be a playoff team. You need to win. You need to just win some games. Every other team around the Islanders was stepping on rakes all the past 2 weeks, and they had an opportunity just to not be idiots. And they like the bar was so low, so frustratingly low, that all they needed to do is not shoot themselves in the foot. And the Islanders are 3 points clear of the playoffs right now. And we're like, wow. All right, like we can take a deep breath. And like I will say, and it does need to be said a lot, like the Islanders have had a maelstrom of just shitty luck all season. On the ice, off the ice. Matt Barzal is going to end up missing 52 games this season. Adam Pelech's going to miss 20. Semyon Varlamov, as we keep saying, is in the shadow realm. Scott Perunovich was here for a couple minutes, and now I don't know what he's doing.
We have no idea where he is.
Scott Mayfield is somewhere. My point being, like, this is a ragtag group. They traded away Brock Nelson. Their centers down the middle are Horvat, Pajot, Cizikas, and McLean. Some guy named Mark Gatcomb came around. Pierre Engvall turned into Guy Lafleur for a couple minutes here, but for the most part has been bad all season. Like this. Anthony Duclair is maybe the worst player in the NHL this season, just based on like his contract. And I know it's an injury thing, but my point is like, there's a lot that is trying to pull this team into into the nether region, and the Islanders are fighting and have fought to stay above water, but they're not helping themselves. Like they're doing it because, like, by hook or by crook. And if they, as you said it, I think last episode, work smarter, not harder. Like if they just do that, if they just do the things that they're supposed to be doing that you work on in preseason, if they can kill a goddamn penalty, or as soon as they got that 4-minute power play tonight, I was like, this is going to end up being a bad thing for the Islanders. And like if they could just take when good things on paper happen to the Islanders, and the Islanders can then just make them good things, like we're not pulling our hair out and going to bed sad and questioning all of our life choices to be here. We're just going to bed as like a normal 96-point team who's thinking, all right, like maybe we can cause some noise in the playoffs. But no, like their assholery has probably, like, the Islanders playing like assholes has probably cost them over the last, over this 300 and whatever it's going to end up being, 26 game, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2024, 25 season, that's probably cost them like 60 points.
Oh, easily.
And I mean, it's
right.
That's so many points for fans to just watch and to stew over.
Yeah.
And think like, oh, if we just had, like, you're sending your fans going to bed thinking, man, if we had just not taken this penalty, or that stick didn't break, or they didn't blow this game to Chicago in regulation, or the Stadium Series game, they just saw that out, or this. You're sending them to bed like that every night.
Yeah. Our friend Ryan at Skates at the Stakes basically said the same thing. The people are just tired of this. It's 3 seasons of this. 3 seasons of this exact strategy, blowing games that you could win. And like you said, 60 points, maybe, being conservative about it. Had they just won the Blue Jackets and Canucks games this week, you're 100% right. They'd be 3 points into a playoff spot right now. And Montreal, Detroit, Rangers, Columbus, they'd all be like, where the hell did our playoff spot go?
Right.
What happened? But they couldn't even manage that. Of course, and then if you still lose in Tampa, okay, it's fine. Because then that they're going to lose in Carolina, and they did that today. 6-4, like you said. There was 2-0 Carolina, a couple of seconds, and 13 seconds in the first period. So much
momentum.
Yeah. Great momentum. Thank you. Exactly. Hogberg is starting, which is the right call, but he wasn't really great. They did tie the game. Engvall scores first of 2 goals. Palmieri on the power play, and okay, you're tied after 2. Good for you. Engvall makes it 3-2 with another sick goal in the second period. But then Sebastian Aho scores on the power play. Like you just said, they get a 4-minute power play. Did the Islanders score? No. Seth Jarvis scores a shorthanded goal. The Islanders didn't even have a shot on goal, I don't think. I don't even remember them having a chance in that 4-minute power play. But then Lee ties the game early in the third, and you're like, okay, maybe they could do this. Nope. They lose a face-off right to Dmitry Orlov. He makes it 5-4. And then somebody jumps up, keeps the puck in, right to Jarvis, who's like kind of crashing the net, makes it 6-4. And that's it. And your game is over. And it's like, guys, what are we doing? I could excuse these 2 losses if you had won the other 2. But instead, we are fighting tooth and nail and scratching and clawing to do what? And then at the end of the game, I got to hear Patrick Waugh talk about how resilient they are. Okay. Why? Because they didn't just roll over and die after the Carolina made it 2-0 5 minutes into the game. Why did they make it 2-0 5 minutes into the game? How about not doing that? It's absurd. It's absurd. And it feels like what you were just saying, the whole operation is missing the forest for the trees here. We're talking about whether or not Sipakov should be on the 4th line, or hey, how about Hudson Fasching? How did he look in last game? Wow, isn't that great? Well, maybe if Pierre Engvall, somebody actually asked Patrick Waugh if Pierre Engvall could find this kind of consistency game in and game out. This was his first ever multi-goal game in 200 odd games or whatever in the NHL. Now we got to count on this. Like, what are we talking about here? This team isn't good enough. Like, somebody somewhere needs to want more, ask for more, beg for more from this team, other than just like, well, we hung in there. We didn't get shut out. We didn't just, roll over and die. You still lost 6-4. How is that even that good? it's unreal, and
Yeah.
I can't wait for the season to be over. I seriously can't. So that's how you go from being 1 point out of the playoffs to being 3 points out of the playoffs with almost no hope of getting it. Because we're going to talk about the next games coming up, and guess what? We're going to see the Lightning again. We're going to see Minnesota again. Oh, and who's on Sunday? It's Alex Ovechkin, who, by the way, only needs 5 goals to pass Wayne Gretzky for the most all time. So that'll be a lot of fun to deal with, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. But yeah, this game was just, I was barely even watching this game.
Yeah, me too.
Because I was so mad.
I turned it on and I was like, you know what? If they win this game, like they're 1 point back, and we're just, still in it, I guess. And so, and by the time that thought had completed in my head, it was 2-0 Hurricanes, and I turned it off, and then turned it back on and turned it off. And this weekend has been really just on the nose, and this is not just this weekend. How many times do we say in an episode that was a microcosm of the Islanders, right?
Yeah, right.
Because everything is so on the nose. So if everything's so on the nose, it just means it's like repeating itself over and over and over again. And but I thought that this weekend was just a perfect representation of what makes me so upset watching and being a fan right now in like this era, and it's so frustrating, is that they crushed your hopes within the first 5 minutes of the game. Then they rope you back in, only to make you mad twice. Like I said, getting drunk twice. Like you got mad twice at the Islanders, 2 completely separate reasons to be mad. I'm mad at the slow start, and now I'm mad because they weren't able to. They got a gift. They're back in the game, and they weren't able to make it count. Like they weren't able. The game was tied, right? When they got the 4-minute power play,
yeah,
it was tied.
Yeah, Aho just tied the game. Yeah.
You get a 4-minute power play, and that was a gift call too.
Right.
And you get a 4-minute power play, and I texted you before the Jarvis scored. I was like, have the Islanders ever taken advantage of a situation like this?
Nope. Never.
Yeah. And in fact, they always feel so bad that they let the other team score the second shorthanded goal of the week, of a huge week. Gotta batten down and right. Just be resilient and grind out. And if we do that, we'll be there at the end. No, you won't, because you don't do that. You're lying. Like you're not being honest with anybody.
Right.
There's no honesty like with in the whole operation, right? Like,
well, the only person who's been honest this whole season was Lou Lamoriello when he said we need to get younger and faster.
Right.
That's it. We need to get younger and we need to get faster. Now, here's the problem. Is he going to do what it takes to get them younger and faster?
Right. I was just saying, we get honesty every quarter. Lose once a quarter.
Right.
Press conference, we get a little bit of honesty. Otherwise, it's crazy. Like is Pierre Engvall gonna find, like, how can he find this level of consistency? It's game 73.
I know.
So that means he didn't find it. He's having a good stretch. The season is now over. Was it a consistent? Did he find any consistency in the 2024-2025 season? The answer is no.
Right.
Honesty and accountability were supposed to be like the bedrocks of this team, and I think that the organization, the whole operation would say that they still are. But it's not true, because if we're talking accountability, like, this lineup should look very different.
Yeah.
Game in and game out, because they're just our guys who are not, like, Brian Pollock's having a miserable season, and I, like, as hard as it is to it must be for Anthony Duclair because of how the season's gone just physically. Like, he shouldn't be in the lineup. Like, he just shouldn't be in the lineup. And he definitely shouldn't have been on the first line and then the second line. Like, this is now a guy who should be sheltered somehow.
Right.
Why can't we see Scott Perunovich?
Right.
Yeah. I just want to remember what he looks like. That guy was interesting for a little bit. They were winning some games with him. He was doing some cool shit.
We haven't even mentioned Adam Boqvist playing wing for 2 games this week.
Right. That was another thing. That was another situation where everyone was like missing the forest for the trees. Why are we focusing on this? Let's focus on the other stuff that's more important. It doesn't matter where I promise you, it does not really matter where Adam Boqvist lines up for this team. This isn't game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of other shit we got to focus on.
Right.
We don't need to know that Hudson Fasching is having, he's making an impact.
Right.
The guy hasn't scored yet this season.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
He's got 3 points, 2 points, whatever it is. Like, there's so much. People are like falling over themselves to try to like make I don't know if it's a like a symptom of where just like sports media is these days, like focusing on trying to squeeze like some romance out of a stone or something. But the stories are there. It's that the Islanders they're at the edge here, and nobody's being honest about anything. And I do think there are some players that are probably like, boy, this sucks right now.
Sure.
I'm mad at about half of my teammates because Bo Horvat continues to try his best and to make with music with like a bunch of people who don't know how to play music. And
I mean, Lee scored his 27 today.
Like even Adam Pelech hasn't played well, but
Right.
I don't think recently. But I don't even know if I could blame him because of the way the blue line has been put together.
Yeah. I feel that same way about Sorokin. Like,
right, Sorokin.
He pulled it together for a couple of months there, but now he's sort of looks like he's out of gas again.
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly. There's a difference between being out of gas and just being boneheaded.
Right.
and I think that there's like a fine line between a lot of or there's like a clear line of like demarcation on this team of players who are just being boneheaded and others that are just out of gas. And yeah, I mean, and the worst part of all of this is that like they are not only are they eliminating themselves, but they are the New York Rangers, the team they're supposed to hate the most because their fans hate the most and whatever. They are allowing their biggest rival to have a chance to take the playoff spot that they pissed away.
Right.
Even though the Rangers are actively trying not to get it. Like there's nothing that this New York Rangers team wants to do less than play more hockey together.
Seriously.
But they are so, they get their bus hit Macklin Celebrini's car the other day. Like this is not, it's an absolute farce what's going on over there. And they're just going to farce their way into the playoffs and probably win the first round because Igor Shesterkin lets in 1 goal in 4 games. They'll sweep the Capitals, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the next thing you know, you're going to be like, fuck, this team is in the Eastern Conference Final again somehow because they just are that charmed, right? Because they'll play the Hurricanes in the second round, and we know exactly how that'll go because we've seen it a million times. And I like it's they're guilty on all accounts. The Islanders, like they're guilty because they're playing poorly. They're guilty because they're being dishonest. They're guilty because they've made like you said, they made it embarrassing to be an Islander fan for most of this year. Remember when we would just be like, they win 1 game a week.
Yeah.
We're we're kind of back to that.
I mean, barely.
Barely. Right. They didn't win a game this week.
No.
But they and you know what's crazy too? They're scoring right now. Like they're scoring goals. They've scored like 3 or 4 goals like every game.
But they've become super leaky too, which is normally they would not be. Yeah.
Right. It's I think they're just guilty on all accounts. I lock these guys up for the way that they're treating you. It's just it's so bad.
It's inhuman. It really is.
It's and because of where they're going to finish, right? Like they'll finish with like 83 points and everyone will be like, I told you the Islanders were just mediocre. And we'll be like, no, they weren't mediocre. They were bizarre. Yeah. They were as far away from mediocre as their record might look mediocre. There was nothing mediocre or normal about this team. It was an absolute they are just guilty on all accounts. Like I just don't ever want to talk about them again.
Yeah.
I could deal with a mediocre team. I could deal with it. A team that just doesn't have it. But this team did have it somehow. They had it. Like they could have been the feel good story. Remember last week, the Islanders are turning into a feel good story. What idiot would say that? They could have been if they just weren't playing like beating themselves. Yeah. They weren't being the Islanders' biggest issue is the New York Islanders.
Yeah, this is the most unusual, abnormal, mediocre team of all time.
Yeah,
is what they are. Like mediocre means just like it's plain, it's blah. This team is anything but blah. But their record is definitely going to be mediocre. We went really long this first half. We're going to go in the second half, but I will leave you with one. I don't know if I would call this a fun fact, but we've been saying they're 3 points out of the playoffs because the Canadians right now have 77 points. The Islanders have 74. The Buffalo Sabres, who are dead last in the Eastern Conference, have 68 points. So the Islanders are only 6 points ahead of the Sabres. Oh, and by the way, the Sabres also have a better goal differential by exactly 1 goal. So there's not a ton separating the Islanders from the Canadians, but there's also not a ton separating the Islanders from the Sabres. So I just want to throw that out there. Which again,
you could say this about a million different reasons, but I don't know how you could be a Sabres fan and you look at this season and be like, we couldn't make the playoffs above these teams. Not only could we not make the playoffs, but we're dead last in this Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they've been dead last all season.
Yeah, after all, we just after every season being like, this is the year, and this is how this Eastern Conference buries us.
Yeah,
a
whole bunch of teams that just don't want to win. They don't want to win games. Anyway, okay, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna look ahead at the next couple of games, and then we're gonna do a very special Master Leaf Theater to hopefully bring some joy into everybody's lives. Okay, so meet us on the other side. Thanks. And now a word from our sponsors. First is always VintageIceHockey.com, where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, jerseys, and more featuring over 100 classic hockey logos. Vintage Ice Hockey now carries a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch featuring our blue and orange brain logo, as well as our Al Arbor and the Island shirts. And as always, our portion of the sales go directly to the Center for Dementia Research. That is VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. They offer a Rosé, a Pinot Grigio, and a Pinot Noir that was named a Top 100 Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. All are delicious, priced at less than $15 a bottle, and available at local wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. Please drink responsibly.
This episode is brought to you by the Toyota Grand Highlander. From daily routines to life-changing adventures, the Toyota Grand Highlander is spacious, powerful, and ready to take on life's grand challenges. Advanced safety features and innovative technology give you confidence for whatever life throws at you. And it's available in a hybrid Nightshade Special Edition, which includes sophisticated gloss black exterior accents and 20-inch black alloy wheels. Learn more at toyota.com/Grand Highlander. Toyota, let's go places.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
So the Islanders have lost 5 in a row. Great, right? They have 3 games coming up this week before our next episode, and if they have a hope in hell of winning any of them, I would be genuinely shocked. Tuesday, they're at home for all 3 of them, so that's kind of good, I suppose. But Tuesday, they're at home against Tampa Bay, the team that just practically blew them out of the building on Saturday. Friday, they are at home against the Minnesota Wild, who have kind of fallen apart a little bit, still trying to lock down that playoff spot, and always beat the Islanders, so it doesn't really matter. And then Sunday at 12:30, those are both 7:30 starts. Sunday at 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon, it is Islanders and Capitals. And as we said before, Alex Ovechkin currently only needs 5 goals to pass Wayne Gretzky for most all time. Hopefully he gets totally shut out this week. He either gets totally shut out this week or he scores, 6 goals in the Caps, however many games this week, two hat tricks or whatever, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. But as it seems now, there's probably a good chance that he may or may not pass Gretzky in that game. We might as well take all 3 of these all in once because these are all teams that are better than the Islanders, exponentially better than the Islanders. They are all gearing up for playoff runs. The Lightning are really rounding into form, as we saw on Saturday. Again, the Wild need all the points they can get. But they are, pretty solidly in a spot right now, although the Blues are right on their heels for 7th, which is where the Wild are now. And then the Caps have clinched, it seems like a week and a half ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, and are just playing out the string, and it's all about Ovi right now. So, if you're looking at these 3 games, which one would you think the Islanders had the best chance of winning? Ironically, it might actually be that Capitals game, right? Am I crazy? They're not going to beat the Lightning, and they never beat the Wild. But I feel like they probably have a chance to beat the Caps. But at the same time, if Ovechkin scores that Gretzky passing goal, who cares? Like the fact that the Islanders won the game, if they do, really doesn't mean anything at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the because I feel this way, right? Like if they're going to win a game, it'll be Tuesday against the Lightning, and
Okay.
I don't think that they will. But if they're going to win one, because if they lose that one, then it's over, and
They're
then
done.
they'll
Yeah.
just and I wouldn't blame them. Be like, all right, there's 8 games left. Please mail it in, please.
Right.
So yeah, I mean they don't, and in fact, if they lose that game on Tuesday and then they beat the Wild on Friday, I would be mad. I'd be like, really? Now you decide? Okay, good. I guess the highest hope I have is that they can win on Tuesday and keep the season alive for another week and whatever, and we can hear Cal Clutterbuck talk about. Yeah, so they've broken Patrick Waugh and they've broken Cal Clutterbuck. So let's see who else they can. Obviously, everybody who's a fan is broken already. Like we're so
right.
There's got to be one more. There's just got to be. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
Shannon just flies off the deep end, on the
It
broadcast.
would be Shannon or well, actually, it might be Butch.
Yeah, Butch is broken too, though. Like he's
Butch is already
mad. He's
broken.
like screaming at them. I'm like, get him, Butch. Get him.
All right, so Butch, Cal, and Patrick Waugh have all been broken.
Yeah, they're broken.
It'll be either Shannon or Hickey for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Hickey might just walk off. And be like, all right, Thomas, what'd you see there, Thomas? Thomas? Oh yeah, he texts me. He's like, I just can't take it anymore. I'm a much better broadcaster than the Islanders are. He just like pops up on an Avalanche broadcast an hour later.
What would be fun to watch get broken would be Andrew Gross, who's a very, very nice guy. He's very good at what he does, and I could just one day he might just be like, "What the hell are you guys doing out here?" Like yelling and screaming. I could see that happening too. Two things about these games before we move on to Master Leaf Theater. Because again, there's not much to say at this point, right? I mean, we're not going to go into deep analysis about a game versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, who we just watched romp over the Islanders, or the Minnesota Wild, who are going to beat them. This is going to be, I wonder if the Islanders are going to pay tribute to Marc-Andre Fleury in his 18th farewell tour of the NHL. But two things I want to say. Number one, Tuesday's game is an ESPN Plus / Hulu / Disney Plus game. So my guess is if you're, some people might be wishing that the Cablevision stalemate was still going on so they wouldn't have to watch this game, but alas, the game is on ESPN. And then Sunday's game is a TNT True TV Max game, so a Turner game, which means please tell me Paul Bissonnette's not working this game. Just get him out of there. I don't want to see I don't want to look at his face. The other guys, I guess, are fine, whatever. Liam McHugh. Still got to try and get Liam McHugh on Weird Islanders one of these days. The TNT people never got back to me, but we'll see about that. So those are two games that aren't on MSG. Friday's game is on MSG. So, if anything, maybe they give you an excuse not to watch. Like, oh, it's on Max, I don't want to watch it. Or it's on TNT, I don't want to watch it. I would not blame you one bit, but alas, they will be played, whether we want them to or not. Okay. Let us move on to a favorite. We're going to do things a little bit differently this time because we are a full service podcast. And so it is time once again to bring you a new edition of Master Leaf Theater. As we've said many times, Master Leaf Theater doesn't necessarily only mean it has to be about the Leafs. It can be about any Canadian team. And we have a couple of short missives here, actually related to the Islanders, which is kind of a nice bonus for us. We don't get this all the time on Master Leaf Theater. And it is great to welcome back a guy I'm surprised we haven't talked about more on this show, Edmonton's own, Sportsnet's own Mark Spector. Guy who has never, ever heard the phrase "no cheering in the press box." It's this guy. This guy shows up at every game wearing a different Oilers jersey, whether it's Gretzky, Coffey, Messier, Ken Linsman, Jason Arnott, whoever it is, he's got it on. And after the Blue Jackets game, he had some choice words about the call and they went against the Islanders, obviously. And its head coach. Did I send this to you or did you send this to me? I forget.
I don't know. I think I sent it to you actually.
You sent it to me, yeah, right. Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah. That's right. No, you did send it to me because I remember clipping it out of there and putting it in my list. Okay, so I'll read the thing and then we'll discuss it. So again, this is Mark Spector. This is on Monday night. The Islanders have been the recipient of this very bad call. Goal's gone the other way. I don't know if they had lost the game at this point or not. Doesn't matter. Inspector, again, this guy bleeds Oilers blue and orange. He is, in a way you kind of almost respect that he's like literally a fan in the press box cheering for the Oilers. But his Oilers fandom runs so deep that he has not forgotten some of the battles that team had back in the late 90s and who the goalie was for Colorado in some of those games. And this is on Twitter, by the way, I should say. Posts a clip of Wah complaining about the call and Wah saying, if Toronto is afraid to overturn calls made by the referee, then we don't need Toronto. It's a funny line. But Spector sees that, posts the video, and writes, who wore the biggest pair of clown pants of any goalie ever when he played? Who brought us the size XXXXL jersey, which he wore like a tent? Who checked players behind his net when they were not allowed to touch him? Karma sucks, eh? That is beautiful in its way. It is so Canadian, so Edmonton.
Yeah, it's so
that it's you almost have to respect it.
It's so of that generation.
Yeah,
Canadian hockey broadcaster journalist,
right?
Because that tweet came from that was basically a column. Twitter kind of ruined columns. That was a column in 1997,
right?
And that would get Mark Spector a phone call from WFAN's equivalent in Edmonton and be like, come on and talk about this because it's causing quite a stir here at the newsroom.
The only thing that's surprising about this tweet is that it wasn't about Garth Snow, who was usually the recipient of these kinds of columns, right? With the aircraft carrier pads and all that kind of stuff.
What is just incredible here is that Patrick Waugh won 3 Stanley Cups as a player and is widely regarded as like the best goaltender, one of the best goalies ever to play in the game. And Mark he's it's like a classic I couldn't hear Jeremy. I've got my 2 rings like plug in my ear kind of moment if Patrick Waugh was a coach of a different team perhaps and like was allowed to speak out or this was 20 years ago because like what legs does Mark Spector have to stand on here? It came out of nowhere too. Like how did this one affect
the Oilers?
The Oilers?
No. And I love too, this is a thing too with sports writers when they write karma sucks.
Yeah, karma.
How is this karma for anything? What are you talking about?
Karma. Yeah, he won 3 Stanley Cups with those gigantic pads and that huge neck guard. I'm sure Patrick Waugh was like, yeah, you got me. That's right.
Right.
Those kids. I would trade those 3 cups for the win over Columbus.
A second point here in in late March.
Yeah. It's so beautifully put. And I was like, I think people will sometimes misconstrue Master Leaf Theater and the spinoffs. Like we are this is coming from a place of disdain or hate, but it's really coming from an admiration. Like I just admire that this these guys feel so strangely passionate about their objective beats, that they see right down the middle. They're not allowed to cheer or I'm not a Leafs fan. Don't say I'm a Leafs fan. Don't put in the paper I'm a Leafs fan. I didn't just high five Jonas Siegel when Mitch Marner scored that goal.
Right.
Like that they're so passionate about these beats that it spills over like this. And I really do admire that. Like that this guy he genuinely thinks this way, that like, I'm going to write this and I'm going to get Patrick Waugh.
Yep. Yeah.
And he does. And he did that. And from 3,000 miles away, I'm sure Patrick Waugh has no idea that this happened. Maybe like one of his former teammates was like, yo, Spec did this. And Patrick Waugh in French was like that crazy asshole or something, right? Like, but otherwise it's you got him, bud. You got Patrick Waugh. He's no longer a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. He's just a guy who was on the wrong end of a video review because he wore big pads back in the day. Got him.
the worst crime you could ever be accused of is wearing big pads. Anyway, yeah, it was really funny, and the fact that he's like, sharing Sportsnet's own video of it is just, yeah. He definitely thought he got Patrick Waugh here, but Mark, you're not listening to this, but I'm telling you, Patrick Waugh's not on Twitter, my friend. He don't care, and he doesn't care about your opinion either, or about karma. It's just, I don't know. This was too funny to me, and like just reading it out, and again, like. Don't put in the paper that I'm a Leafs fan. Don't put in the paper that I'm an Oilers fan. Spector is a fan. Like, this guy, it 100% writes from that perspective, and like he's been doing it for a long time. So in a way, you almost kind of give him a pass. But like, I feel like if you said, well, you're a fan, he would probably bite your head off. And it's like, dude, do you ever read what you write? Yeah. But whereas like the Athletic guys, they never want you to think that they're fans. They're absolutely not fans. They're journalists. They just high five each other whenever the Leafs score. So anyway, I thought that was really funny. And again, to me, this reminded me of all the times I read about Garth Snow and his pads. But
yep.
I guess if we were in the Western Conference, it would have been Patrick Waugh. But it was all about Garth Snow. But that's not the only Sportsnet writer that we have on tap for this episode of Master Leaf Theater. We also have one directly from the Islanders' own game against the Canucks on Wednesday, and this is from Ian McIntyre. Now, Ian McIntyre, he's not quite from the Spector school, but he does have a lot of kind of floweriness to him. He's not quite writing from the Canucks fan perspective, but he's not far from it either. And surely he couldn't give a shit about what the Islanders were going through at that time, because the Canucks have been going through what they've been going through this season and every season, because it's always, a soap opera out there. And I thought this lead was really funny. And this actually gets back to something we were talking about in our last episode of Master Leaf Theater that did deal with the Leafs and their now former team DJ, Ryan Reeves. And so we're getting back to that theme here. And so again, this was from last Wednesday. And this is Ian McIntyre in Sportsnet writes, Dateline, Elmont, New York. True power is controlling the music. Vancouver Canucks resident DJ Connor Garland's choice for the victory song Wednesday night was as obvious as it was appropriate. New York, New York. We're not sure if Frank Sinatra has ever been played that loudly by people born around the time he died, but had Old Blue Eyes been in the Canucks lineup against the New York Islanders, he'd probably have scored too. With the Canucks' typically strong, sound defensive game failing them, they cranked up the volume on their offense to feed their desperate National Hockey League playoff drive. Smart. And then he talks about the sort of other guys in the Canucks, Teddy Bluger, Atu Ratu, Derek Forward, or scoring. This is both hokey and hilarious at the same time, like playing New York, New York, like good one. Again, this is exactly what like Spector was doing. Wow, you really got us, guys. You're playing Frank Sinatra. This is Long Island. Nobody gives a shit about Frank Sinatra here. Everybody does is 80 years old. You're not getting one. Oh, they got one. Oh, they got us. They're playing New York. No, you should have played Billy Joel if you want to get over on the Islanders, right? But even that probably wouldn't even work either. But anyway, I just thought this was kind of funny. Like, wow, you guys really got him. Really, really nailed us that time, Connor Garland playing Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, like you said, I'm happy where we've got some like sub themes going here on Master Leaf Theater this season. We got the running count of how many Leafs have been reported to not be wearing any clothes while they've been talking to Luke Fox jukebox, and now we're getting the DJ Chronicles from the as somebody who like, I grew up reading the back page of Newsday. I was a sports nerd my whole life. I obviously loved WFAN and Mike Francesa. I still do. I love that kind of era of sports more than anything, and I love that that type of coverage more than everything. One of the ways I like as an Islander fan, I'm like so in the weeds, and they really do kind of push and pull my emotions all over the place. And that what I really enjoy about my Yankees fandom is I just get to be a WFAN style fan, to my friends and be like, they got to get rid of Boone after every loss or whatever. And I like that. And, but my point is that like, I've been a consumer of sports media forever. I've worked in sports media for a long time now too. at a league, at some media outlets. I've whatever. I would say through the first 32 years of my life, I never read anything about an aux cord in a locker room.
Right.
And now it's all the rage because of one Maple Leafs player or locker room that, and it's not just them. I mean, we had an Islander writer who's like, the Islanders' victory song is this today, and whatever. And maybe it started with like Gloria with the Blues, that it started to become more the media started paying attention to this kind of stuff. But Gloria, like, that was different. Like, that's a team that ended up winning a Stanley Cup. Nobody noticed it until they were like 3 wins away from winning the Stanley Cup. And that singer actually is also from Long Island. So if Connor Garland wanted to get us, he could have played the Laura Branigan song. But
nobody tell Connor Garland that Frank Sinatra is actually from Hoboken. But anyway,
and you guys lost to the Rangers, even though you let up 12 shots at goal. That would have been more appropriate against them. But
I was going to say, what's funny is that after this came out, well, 2 things are funny about the rest. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, McIntyre equates Derek Forbert's goal says he looked like Larry Robinson on this play, which is a little, yeah. I didn't see a lot of Larry Robinson play, but I didn't think he looked like Derek Forbert here. Number 2 is that the Canucks have gone completely into the toilet since this game and are now 6 points out of the playoffs in the Western Conference, because St. Louis is like the hottest team in the league, right? So they have reinserted themselves in 8th place right now, probably be 7th by the time the Islanders play the Wild on Friday. But the Canucks have the wheels have completely come off the Vancouver Canucks here, and it all happened because they beat the Islanders and played New York, in they played, locker room.
They won their intrepid beat reporter for Sportsnet, and whatever the equivalent of a Tony or an Emmy was for sports writers, because he got to write this article. Like, and that's the point, right? Like, I just growing up, you just didn't. None of this stuff happened. Like, there was no when writers or broadcasters got flowery, it was because the moment called for Joe Buck or Bob Costas or Mike Vaccaro or whoever's covering the team. The moment caused the writing and the broadcasting had to meet the moment. Mike Francesa didn't flip out because of just on a whim. Maybe he did, but in his all-time epic rants, like he tried to save it for big moments. You don't hear someone go nuts in a booth for a home run call when a team is down 11-1, or Brendan Burke doesn't say he scores when Pierre Engvall cuts a lead from 6-1 to 6-2. And yet this generation of especially in Canada, journalists, I should say, more than broadcasters, boy, they will turn it up a notch over someone playing New York, or somebody staying on the sheet an extra couple minutes, or somebody being shirtless while they talk to them in a locker room where there's a lot of shirtless people throughout history. But all these moments have to be met with the "I'm winning Miami" moment. This is my Shakespearean aside. All eyes are on me as I write about the aux cord and the DJ.
Right.
And then the next day comes and everybody just ignored it or moved on, and the Canucks lose 3 in a row, or the Leafs lose in the first round, and we just move on, and that's that.
Yeah. I mean, the only team that really had that sort of thing was the 79 Pittsburgh Pirates had the "We Are Family" thing, the Sister Sledge, "We Are Family" thing. But then I think somebody must have realized that it had been, way too long and a team didn't have another team song. And so they came up with something, because obviously the new one is the Blues. Like, that was the Gloria thing. And now every team's got to have this sort of fight song or whatever. And it's ludicrous. And I feel like a lot of stuff, a lot of writers try and jump on this early.
Yeah.
So that when the team does go on that inevitable Stanley Cup run, they could be like, well, I was the guy who said that New York was there. It's not like,
right.
Dude.
Yeah. That's my book. New York is now in paperback. Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Like everyone has this. Everyone has
Right.
a song, right? Like, Maxine
Yeah.
Nightingale, Gloria,
Right.
all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of teams that have, the Habs have their Coldplay song that they
Right.
play when they warm up for big games, and it's all there, but it does. You don't a game against the New York Islanders in March where you've cut your playoff deficit to 5 points
Mm.
doesn't deserve this kind of
Right.
language. And but that's just how everything is now. It's just
Yeah.
everything has to be written at this level. Like this is
Right.
the baseline. Whether you're
Yeah.
talking about Alex Ovechkin's 895th goal
Mm.
or the aux cord in the Maple Leafs dressing room, they're all met with the same exact pros these days. It's
Right.
as I say, it's good news for us because we get Master Leaf Theater out of just a DJ.
Right. Well, that's how Ryan Reeves goes from, oh, this is the worst signing of this Leafs era, to being like, I can't believe they're letting their beloved DJ and group chat guy go. So because it's got, like you said, it's got to be the most hyperbolic thing. So, well, that ends a very Western Canadian version of Master Leaf Theater. That has been actually a lot of fun. It's nice to hear from some different voices here, and I want to thank Mark Spector and Ian McIntyre for providing that for us. This was great, guys. Thank you. So there you go. We hope that has brought at least a little bit of joy to the end of this episode. We are going to have a brand new episode of Weird Islanders, the podcast, coming out on Friday. It's maybe the second one we recorded this year, so I think I managed to edit out all the allusions to sort of preseason stuff when we were in a much better mood. But it is about a player who I wanted to talk about for a very long time, and is actually appropriate to that night's game. So there's a little hint for you. It's a really, really fun episode, so I hope everybody checks it out. And that's about it coming up this week. But make sure you sign up at the Patreon to get ad-free episodes and bonus content. Patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible.com, all those places. Please leave us a review wherever you can. We really appreciate it. Our theme is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to their music on Spotify. Check out their record, God Looks Out for Fools. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for your most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Islanders Anxiety podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Shop VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. Mike, where can everybody find you on Twitter?
The Big Lebowski with 2 E's.
Find Mike at the Big Lebowski. And this has been a very long episode. We had a lot of games to talk about, a lot of stuff to get off our chest. Do you have any final thoughts on what has transpired and the Islanders' slow sinking to below the playoff cutoff line and closer to the bottom of the Eastern Conference? They're still not out of it, technically. Yeah. We should say that. But it's hard to really feel anything resembling confident right now that they can pull themselves up over that line.
Yeah, no, I just hope that, we're back next week on Sunday and we're talking like, holy shit.
They won 3 in a row.
Yeah, we're different now.
Right. Yeah.
Might
be that. We will be back next Sunday. Again, that Caps game is at noon. So we'll be back regular time next Sunday, and we'll talk it out. We'll see. Maybe we're surprised. You never know. But I don't know, man. It's been 70 games. I think we have a pretty good handle on what this team is right now. And it's not the team that's going to pull itself up over the playoff cutoff line, but we'll see what happens. They'll be home. So who knows? Okay. If you're going to the games, enjoy them. If you're staying at home, remember it's ESPN on Tuesday and Turner, TNT, Max, whatever on Sunday. Okay. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll be back next week. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.